Are you used to picking up hitchhikers on your long commute to work? You might want to hear about the hitchhiker road scam. This trick preys on unsuspecting drivers. The scam typically starts with a person posing as a hitchhiker who flags down a car on the side of the road. They may claim to be stranded or in need of a ride to a nearby town or city. In some cases, the hitchhiker may ask the driver to pull over at a specific location, such as a gas station or convenience store, where they will then disappear with the driver's money or other valuables. This scam can also be done in groups, where a bunch of people will flag down a car and ask for a ride, and once the car is on the move, they will threaten the driver and steal money, valuables, or even the car itself. It's important to be aware of this scam and to always be cautious when picking up hitchhikers. It's best to avoid giving money or other valuables to anyone who claims to need a ride, and to never pull over at a location that is not safe or familiar. Hitchhikers are not the only reason why you might get into trouble on the road. A slice of cheese isn't something you'd expect to find on your parked car, am I right? Well, it might indicate something quite dangerous. One woman told the story of such an experience online, thinking it was just a prank made by some neighborhood youngster. She decided to call a friend and ask for help with cleaning the car up. But once the two ladies started rubbing off the melted cheese from her windshield, they saw something strange nearby. She remembered seeing a white van arriving. In it were a bunch of men, suspiciously staring at them. She wasn't alone, so she decided it was safe enough to finish cleaning up the car, even though they didn't feel comfortable being stared at. It took them almost an hour to scrape off the cheese that had melted under the heat. She did wonder, though, if this wasn't a tactic to rob a person. That's because most people would be so focused on cleaning up the mess on their car, they'd be distracted from keeping an eye on the thing they left in the car, like bags, wallets, or even recent shopping items. Or worse, what if it was a kidnapping strategy? That sticky cheese would keep a person really concentrated on fixing the car, so they wouldn't be able to see suspicious people coming at them in due course. The key takeaway from this story: if you ever see a piece of cheese on your car, might as well leave it as it is, as long as it's not blocking your view and it doesn't really affect your driving. Your safest bet is to just clean it at home, or take it to the nearest car wash. They'll know the best way to clean up the vehicle without ruining the paint. Sure, the piece of cheese on a car scam might just be a coincidence, but some scams out there are more legitimate, with this next one being quite the unusual method when it comes to snatching away other people's cars. If you notice a t-shirt or a hoodie on your windshield, or even wrapped between your wiper blades, don't be so quick to take it away. Again, it can be placed there on purpose to distract you while your car gets taken away. Drive away as quickly as possible if you can, and get to a safe location that's well lit and filled with many people. There you can remove whatever object you have on the car without any risks. Some people have even found money under their wiper blades. It's easy to imagine that those who left it there probably had the same intention in mind. There are methods to help when it comes to decreasing your odds of getting your car snatched away. Keep your tires turned to the curb whenever you park it. If your car wheels are in that position, thieves are less likely to be able to move around with the vehicle. They'll see that your car requires more time and energy to be moved, so it'll become less of a target. Sadly, scams on the road are quite common, and one of the most widespread types is the infamous tow truck scam. This scam involves leaving oil, metal nails, or glass shards on the road and waiting for drivers to fall into the trap. If your car gets damaged in such a situation, the scammers will suddenly appear out of nowhere and offer to provide towing service at extremely high prices. They'll try to pressure you into using their services because most of the time, they place these traps in strategic locations. They make sure people get stranded where there's low visibility and no gas station in sight where you can assess the damage done to your car. In a situation where you have no other option but to give consent for them to tow your car, they'll also take advantage of the situation and take it to workshops unapproved by your insurance company. This means you'll have to pay even more money to get your car back. If you've been a driver for long enough, you know that the driver who rear-ends another vehicle is always at fault. That's because you should always keep a comfortable distance from the car in front of you, so you can safely stop the car in case of an emergency. Some scammers will take advantage of this by repeatedly braking suddenly, causing you to hit them. This dangerous tactic is used to get money for supposed damages, and even for make-believe medical expenses. To avoid falling victim to this scam, you should reduce your speed and keep a safe distance, especially from suspicious vehicles or chaotic drivers. If a scammer continues to bother you in traffic, the best course of action is to drive to the nearest police station and report them. Picture this. You're driving on the road, and suddenly a motorcyclist gets your attention and points out that your wheels are smoking. You quickly pull over to the side of the road. The motorcyclist then offers to help by calling a mechanic to check your wheels. Surprisingly, the mechanic gets there really fast, but proceeds to disable your braking system while inspecting the cause of the smoke. He then asks you to test your brakes, which of course won't be working since he's already disabled them. Pretending to be helpful, he offers to fix your brakes for you, but will charge an enormous price for it. Moral of the story, stick to your trusted mechanic or towing company. You never know who you'll find on the road. Some scams aren't even that. They're just urban legends. Many people claim to have seen the wrong way man on the roads. One version of this story mentions a man stuck driving down one-way streets in the opposite direction, causing chaos and confusion as other drivers try to avoid him. The man is said to be crazed and dangerous, with a wild look in his eyes and a penchant for reckless driving. Other stories say he's not even driving, but that once you've seen this mysterious person on the side of the road while driving home, you should turn around to keep from going back to your house for at least a week. That is, if you don't want anything bad to happen. There are countless stories of near misses and close calls with this mysterious figure. Some even say that they've been hit by the man and that they suffered serious injuries as a result. Despite the many sightings and stories, there's no concrete evidence to suggest that the wrong way man actually exists. Many experts believe that the legend is simply a cautionary tale, meant to remind people to be aware of their surroundings and to drive safely. However, the legend persists and continues to be passed down through generations, making it one of the most enduring urban myths of all time.
You're walking down the beach toward the water, but something feels different today. The water is bright green, and your nose gets filled with a recognizable pungent stench of rotting eggs. Should you probably come closer to check this unusual phenomenon? Stop right now until it's too late. What you see is called a harmful algal bloom, also called algae bloom, and approaching it is a very bad idea. This bloom contains algae that can produce dangerous toxic gases. That's what makes previously popular touristy places deserted and outright treacherous. You can come to a sea or lake beach and spot something that looks like blue-green foam floating on or just beneath the surface of the water, or it may resemble streaks of bright green paint. Some blooms, called red tides, can color the water brown or red. Anyway, once you notice something like that, try to stay away, keep in check that curiosity of yours, and don't go exploring. When algae decompose, pockets of toxic hydrogen sulfide gas are trapped under the crust. If you unknowingly step on such a pocket, you'll set the gas free and can accidentally inhale it. It's enough to say that this is likely to end tragically. On some beaches, bulldozers pile up the algae into dump trucks and bring it to special centers. There, workers dry the seaweed and get rid of it. But sometimes, these centers have to be temporarily closed. Algae mixed with sand and mud smells so awful that local people can't sleep at night because of the stench. There are 3 types of dangerous algae that can gather into harmful algal blooms: cyanobacteria, dinoflagellates, and diatoms. All of them are made up of minuscule floating life forms that use sunlight to create their own food. The blue-green algal blooms are caused by cyanobacteria. They produce dangerous toxins that destroy nerve tissue. It can get so bad that water treatment plants might be unable to get rid of the toxin. Then, local people are recommended not to use tap water. Dinoflagellates and one diatom species are responsible for creating red tides. They occur mostly in ocean bays. For a red algal bloom to form, the water has to be warm, salty, and rich in nutrients. Such blooms release a huge amount of different toxins. In Texas, red tides used to happen once in a decade. Now they occur every 3 years. In Florida, red algal blooms appear every year. Long, skinny diatoms can also produce toxic substances harmful to people. Even worse, if some shellfish, like razor clams, eat a lot of this plankton, they become toxic too. That's why cooking them for dinner can lead to a disaster. It's one of the reasons why marine waters are usually monitored. If toxin levels become too high, beaches get closed for shellfish harvesting. Harmful algal blooms can last for several days to a couple of months. They rid the water of oxygen, causing marine life to disappear. But it gets even worse when microbes start to decompose the algae at the end of the bloom. They consume even more oxygen in the process, and no fish can survive it. This creates huge areas of water almost totally devoid of oxygen and any kind of plant or animal life. Harmful algal blooms appear in the regions with too many nutrients in the water, and the most common of these nutrients comes from agriculture and other industries. Plus, winter monsoons have become warmer and now carry more moisture. This allows algae to gather in huge blooms. Some of them get so gigantic that the thick green swirls can be seen from space. Not all algal blooms are harmful though. Some of them just add a terrible taste to the water, change its color, or produce revolting smells. Unfortunately, you won't be able to tell toxic algae from totally harmless kinds, judging only by their appearance. Algae aren't the only organisms that look deceitfully harmless. Here are other marine inhabitants you should never ever touch. The Urukandji jellyfish, found in Australia, looks tiny and totally innocent. But appearances are deceitful, and this baby, the size of a human thumbnail, is actually lethal. During stinger season, which lasts from November to May, tons of beaches get closed because of these itsy-bitsy creatures. What makes the jellyfish particularly dangerous is their miniature size. You will simply fail to notice one while swimming. Oops. The blue-ringed octopus looks not just harmless, it's breathtakingly beautiful. But don't let the looks fool you. You wouldn't want to disturb this relatively small 8-inch-long creature. It carries enough venom to bring down 26 adults within mere minutes. And once the animal feels threatened, well, you can probably guess the outcome. At the same time, when left alone, the octopus is absolutely docile. The infamous box jellyfish, named for its cubic body shape, lives in the Indian and Pacific Oceans. Stay clear from a creature with a squarish bell and long dangling tentacles, and even if you see only a single tentacle, without the jellyfish attached to it, don't come close or touch it. The box jellyfish can grow up to 10 feet, and each of its tentacles has about 500,000 microscopic harpoons to inject venom. Unlike other jellyfish, box jellyfish are hunters. They can latch onto you by wrapping their slender tentacles around your limb or body. With how dangerous their venom is, it won't be a pleasant experience. The crown of thorns starfish got its name because of the venomous spines covering its entire body. The second largest starfish in the world, it can grow up to 20 inches across. They feed on corals, and they eat a lot. Just one hungry starfish can finish off more than 100 square feet of corals within a year. The creatures also tend to have loads of babies. They produce more than 500 million eggs at a time. Really, an overachiever. The fairly small blue-spotted ribbon-tail ray mostly lives in the tropical Indian and western Pacific Oceans, near coral reefs. No more than 14 inches across, the creature has a striking color pattern. It's yellow with electric blue spots on its body and several blue stripes on its tail. But however pretty this animal is, keep in mind that it's also dangerous. It can injure you with venomous tail spines. You can come across lionfish in the South Pacific Ocean and in the Caribbean Sea. Despite what most people think, it's okay to cook these fish. These creatures present real danger when they are alive. You can get accidentally stung by their needle-sharp fins that contain venom. If you're an enthusiastic shell collector, you should know the cone snail by sight. About 4 inches long, the snail looks cute and innocent, but this look is deceitful, especially if you're dealing with a tropical species. Imagine finding a pretty shell and picking it up. You aren't afraid, your diving gloves seem to offer perfect protection. But cone snails have tiny needle-like protrusions they can deploy from their mouths, and those are full of lethal neurotoxins. These harpoons can easily get through your diving suit's fabric, but the worst thing is that the venom contains painkillers. You won't even know you've been stung. The flower urchin got to the Guinness Book of Records as the most dangerous sea urchin on the planet. These creatures live in the Indian and Western Pacific Oceans. And while a flower urchin may look like something you'd love to see in your aquarium, never ever touch it. Flower urchins have enough venom to make your holiday extremely unpleasant. Or short. The reef stonefish, the world's most venomous fish, knows how to camouflage. Oh goody. It can blend into the surroundings so well, you won't even notice it even if you're paying attention. This makes it all too easy to step on the fish. Once the creature feels threatened, like when you're accidentally trying to crush it, it extends the venomous spines growing along its back. The more pressure, the more venom the fish produces. The creature remains dangerous even taken out of the water. The Indonesian needlefish isn't venomous, doesn't have sharp teeth, and will most likely stay as far away from you as possible. The danger lies in the fish's body shape. After all, it wasn't called the needle for nothing. Needlefish swim near the surface. In case of danger, they launch themselves out of the water, and their speed can reach 37 miles per hour. Their long, sharp jaws turn the fish into flying spears. The striped surgeonfish got its name because of the spines growing near the base of its tail. When the fish feels in danger, it moves the tail and reveals these scalpel-shaped spines. If you don't hurry to move away, you can get several nasty cuts. Keep in mind that some species are also venomous. Hey, have a nice day at the beach, y'all! You're walking along the riverbank. It's quiet, save for the water's peaceful burbling. The hot Georgia sun beats down on your neck. That's when you notice something strange on the ground. Looks like a quarter-sized black coin with a weird pattern on it. You bend over for a closer look. Is it a coin? This thing looks like an ancient seal with a symbol carved in it. It's probably from some long-lost civilization. You could sell it and make a fortune. You crouch down on one knee to pick up your newfound treasure. As soon as your finger touches it, you pull your hand back as fear wells in your gut. It's hairy. You go to pick it up again, digging your nails in the dirt around it to pull it out of the ground. That's when it moves. Your heart jumps in your throat. It's pounding so hard you can feel it in your head. The fear turns to horror when the coin wiggles its way out of the ground. It's no ancient treasure, it's a huge spider. A ravine trapdoor spider, to be precise. This hard, coin-looking growth on the back of its body serves as a shield. The eight-legged terrors burrow into the ground and plug it like a cork, so hungry enemies can't get to them. Or, giant confused humans like you. The spider is venomous, but its bite isn't toxic to humans. Whew, lucky you. But I didn't say you wouldn't feel it. Best stay away from those sizable pincer-like fangs. Ow! Well, so much for your riches. Perhaps fortune awaits you in Mexico's Baja California peninsula. You're walking on dried-up ground when you notice a long white stripe up ahead. You get closer. Oh, looks like a super long worm, you think to yourself. But it doesn't move like any worm you've ever seen. That's when you see it has arms and a head. This pale creature with black beady eyes is a Mexican mole lizard. It lives in the ground where all its dinner of insects and termites hang out. It rarely comes out, so you're pretty lucky to have seen this bizarre reptile. Now you're in a rainforest in northeastern Australia. Ahead, half hidden among the trees, you notice something large and round. This mysterious figure lying on the ground is covered in black hair. At first, you think it's a bear curled up sleeping. But that wouldn't make any sense. There are no bears down under. You're getting closer when a twig snaps under your foot. The thing hears you and springs to its legs. It turns to you, and you now see this is a bizarre and beautiful bird. That black hair is actually a thick coat of long, fine feathers. This formidable fowl has a bright blue head with a large horn on top. It stands on two powerful legs with a dagger-like claw on each foot that can be as long as your hand. Take away those feathers, and you might mistake this thing for a velociraptor. But it's actually a cassowary, the most dangerous bird in the world. It could jump straight over your head if it wanted to, definitely high enough to kick you in the chest. And its blows are strong enough to break bone, not to mention that claw that can cut through anything like butter. This bird was made to hunt and avoid being hunted. Don't even consider running away, not unless you too can sprint over 30 miles per hour. Diving into that lake over there won't save you either. This bird is an excellent swimmer. Best just to back away slowly and hope it doesn't come after you. Another creature that proves it's best to keep your hands to yourself is the panda ant. The naming is obvious. It's black and white and furry like the beloved bamboo-chewing bear. This furry little bugger lives in the forests of Chile. But don't go to pet this fluffy little ant. What you're looking at is no ant at all. It's a species of wasp. That black and white coloring serves one purpose: to warn others of this insect's powerful sting. And if that doesn't make you back away, the wasp will let out a squeaking sound. It sounds cute to us humans, but it means a painful sting is around the corner. These insects are loners, they don't live in colonies and don't have nests. They're also parasites. A female panda ant lays eggs next to the larvae of another insect. Then the hatched babies use these larvae as food. Surely you've seen bugs that look like leaves and twigs. But what about a creature that looks like a beautiful orchid? You can find this fragrant flower in the forest or a green field among other plants. But make sure that's a flower you're leaning in toward to smell. If it's not, you risk being bitten by a praying mantis. The orchid mantis is nearly impossible to distinguish among the flowers. It has pink-white coloring with legs and claws that look identical to little petals. It uses its resemblance to the plant to hide from predators and hunt insects that love these flowers. A butterfly or a bee flies up to the flower when one of the petals starts moving. The unsuspecting meal might take it as simply the wind. But then the petal turns into a sharp claw that suddenly grabs the insect. Now imagine you're in the jungles of Costa Rica. You notice a brown snake sitting on a tree branch in front of your face. The snake looks like it's about to strike. Well, you want to run away as far as possible, but notice that this snake is unusually short, and it doesn't lash out at you. You wait, but the snake keeps staring at you. It doesn't even hiss. Lucky for you, it'll never bite because it's not a snake, but a caterpillar. The hawk moth caterpillar can change the shape of its body to look like a menacing serpent. This easily scares away any hungry foes. The coloring and pattern on the skin imitates a snake's scales and eyes. This insect also knows how to move like a reptile. A master of disguise, this one. Let's get out of the hot jungle and head to Central Europe. You're in the middle of a sunny green meadow. Colorful flowers bloom around, birds sing, and bees buzz by. Among the bees, some are not what they seem. You'd hardly be able to distinguish the imposters. But if you look really closely, you'll see the golden bee fly moving through the air. It looks like a bumblebee, but it's the buzzer's biggest enemy. The golden bee fly sneaks into bee nests and lays eggs there. Its larvae hatch and feed on the bees and flower nectar. The yellow and black coloring allows the intruder to go undetected the whole time. The camouflage also keeps enemies away. Nothing would touch this fly if it thinks it'll get a bumblebee sting. The next spot on your journey is the rainforest in southern Thailand. Now, be extra careful and watch your step. Not because the next animal is poisonous or bites, but because you might actually step on it. The leaves from the trees have fallen and turned a gray-brown hue. Among these leaves, it's tough to distinguish the Malaysian horned leaf frog. Its body shape, coloring, and especially those pointy growths coming out above its eyes all allow this amphibian to hide perfectly among the fallen foliage. This frog can sit for hours in one place, waiting for its next meal to come close enough to… Now you're in a garden. You see a beautiful bright flower and a small bird hovering near it. The bird flaps its wings so quickly you can hardly see them. And that long needle-like beak makes you immediately assume you're looking at a hummingbird. But as soon as you get closer, you realize this is not a bird, but an insect. Fortunately, the hummingbird hawk moth isn't venomous and doesn't sting. It's just a lovely little creature that decorates the garden with its presence. Many people even grow plants rich in nectar to attract these moths. Hey, that's an idea. Now, if for some reason you ever, decide to wake up a sleeping giant panda or cuddle it, just remember that's a bad idea. Even fearless big cats like snow leopards are wary of bothering pandas in the wild. The ones you see in the zoo might not be that active, but they still have a massive jaw that can deliver a powerful bite. Their huge false thumb lets them get a good grip on their enemies. The most misleading thing about the leopard seal is its mouth, which always appears to be smiling. But they're actually rather aggressive animals and effective lone hunters. They like to play cat and mouse with their food, which includes penguins, fish, squid, and even smaller seals. Not so long ago, a leopard seal even dragged a marine biologist deep underwater. Hey, stop playing with your food. Anteaters feed on insects, citrus fruit, and avocados. Watch out. They have no teeth, poor vision, and bad hearing. Sounds kind of like my Uncle Rudy. They aren't aggressive and stay away from people. But if humans walk on their trails, anteaters can turn fierce and may fight. They get on their hind legs, use their tails for balance, and attack with their claws that are strong enough to hurt a jaguar or a Land Rover. Fluffy alpacas may seem warm-hearted, but they still have ways of defending themselves. They can spit up to 10 feet, and you don't want that stuff getting in your eyes because it contains stomach acid, along with chewed-up grass. They can bite with their sharp fighting teeth that are at the back of their mouths, and they have soft toes to give enemies a good kick. They can't really do more damage than you might get in a fight with a child, but it's best not to upset them. There are 3 things that brings out the nasty side of a Tasmanian devil: when there's a predator nearby, when they're competing for a mate, and when they're protecting their meal. Also Bugs Bunny, but that's a cartoon. These guys normally feed on insects, birds, frogs, and fish, and they like scavenging more than hunting. But if you intrude upon their home for any reason, be prepared for a painful bite. Their teeth are strong enough to eat through bones. Elephants are so clever that they understand the feelings of other elephants, and they even try to help each other. They can also take revenge on people who upset them. Elephants sometimes block roads and show up in the villages of people who have been mean to them. Male elephants get especially aggressive when fighting over females. Watch out for those huge feet. They can really do some damage. Better pack your trunk. Pufferfish can inflate to several times their normal size to protect themselves against predators. Hey, my brother-in-law can do that too. Just kidding. Most animals shouldn't try eating them anyways. There's enough poison inside them to finish off 30 people, and there's no antidote. So, if it's just you, you'll need to invite some friends along to spread out the poison. Nah, I just made that up. Swans tend to see humans as the biggest danger to their homes and families. Male swans get especially aggressive during the spring nesting season from April to June. When kayakers, rowers, or anglers get too close to their nests, swans start hissing and flapping their wings. If you don't pay attention to these warning signs, the swan might even try to flip your boat over. Dolphins are the only species on the planet, apart from humans, that can take another creature's life for no logical reason. Males sometimes attack female dolphins or even baby ones, and they don't do it for food. If an angry dolphin chases you, you have no chance of outswimming it. They can move at 22 miles per hour. The top speed of Olympic swimmer Michael Phelps is only 6 miles per hour, so he can't help you. Slow lorises are the only venomous primates in the world. They carry poison in their elbows. It's transferred to their mouths during grooming to protect their babies. Plus, they scare off predators like pythons and eaglehawks using special markings that show how fearsome they are. If a slow loris bites a person who ends up on its territory or annoys it, the result can be rashes, anaphylactic shock, or, even worse. Despite their massive weight and clumsy bodies, hippos can run much faster than people, and they have much sharper teeth. If you get in their way on their trip to the watering hole, their aggression kicks in. Before they attack you, though, they'll give you some warning signs. If you see a hippo yawn or make a sound like a laugh, it means it's about to get mad. Well, that's rather confusing, isn't it? Blue-ringed octopuses are really tiny, but their venom is 1,000 times stronger than cyanide. They normally use it to hunt shrimp, crabs, and small fish. If this creature feels threatened, it'll flash its blue rings as a warning. If you don't pay attention, it may bite you. You might not notice the bite itself, but minutes later, you'll definitely notice the symptoms: nausea, numbness, and even the loss of your senses and motor skills. So pay attention down there. Geographic cone snails are a seriously dangerous critter. They puncture their victims with a tooth that's like a harpoon, and then inject their venom. If a small cone attacks you, it'll just feel like a bee sting. If you're unlucky enough to meet a larger one, though, it could cause numbing, swelling, muscle paralysis, changes to your vision, and even breathing difficulties. Canada geese have been living close to humans for years, but they're still wary of us getting near their homes, especially during the spring mating season. At this time, the male geese can chase and bite people that seem like a threat to their mates, eggs, or babies. If you want to avoid being attacked by this seriously angry bird, the best thing you can do is just slowly back away. Squirrels have a lot of enemies, both in the wild and in cities. Their superpower against all of them is their speed and agility. Most of the time, it's completely safe to go near them, but they can still be unpredictable like any wild animal. They go on biting sprees occasionally, and watch out, they carry infections like rabies. They're more likely to go after your pets or kids, but they can also bite adults. So, to play it safe, always walk behind your pets or kids to use them as decoys. Of course I'm kidding. If you ever see a kangaroo get up on its hind legs, back off. This is their way of warning you that they think you're a threat to their females or their food. They are real pros at boxing with each other, and they have really long legs and sharp claws. Kangaroos jump into the air to give extra force to their kicks, which are powerful enough to break bones. A platypus doesn't have teeth, and it mainly eats insects and shellfish. It's one of only 2 mammals that lay eggs, but these strange things can still do you harm. Male platypuses have sharp spurs hidden on the heels of their hind feet. There's venom in these spurs that's strong enough to take down a dog. Koalas get most of their hydration from eating eucalyptus leaves, and they get all the protection they need from their sharp teeth and claws. When a koala scratches someone that wants to cuddle them a little too hard, they can pass on some unpleasant infections. Raccoons can easily adapt to any environment, including your backyard. They rarely attack humans directly, but can damage your property and make you sick. They'll go anywhere to get some food, from trash cans to bird nests, and this is where they can catch a lot of different infections. Apart from disease, raccoons can give humans nasty wounds that take a long time to heal. When it thinks you're threatening its dam, a beaver will start slapping the water with its tail as a warning sign. If you ignore it, it'll try to use its sharp teeth against you to protect its family. So, it's better to just leave it to beaver. Hey, there's a special knife you can use to protect yourself against attack called a beaver cleaver. No wait, that's an old TV show. Otters spend a lot of their time swimming on their backs, and they don't care about cleaning up after themselves. That's why they leave behind bits of fish that attract insects carrying diseases. Apart from being so messy, they also have powerful teeth that can be used against any unwanted visitor. Cassowaries are the most dangerous birds on the planet. One of these can weigh as much as an adult person, and it has long, powerful legs and sharp claws. They can chase after you at 30 miles per hour. Luckily enough, they try to avoid fights. But if you don't want to be the target of their karate moves, keep a safe distance and don't provoke them. Got that? Good. Boom! This word isn't nearly enough to illustrate the explosion, the most powerful one you've ever seen. And what's most important, it's a lake that's just blown up. Hey, all you wanted to do is light up some fireworks in this picturesque place. But you must have totally missed the danger strictly no fire warning sign along the way. And now, the wall of fuming water is quickly closing in on you. But first, let's rewind to the beginning of the whole thing. You're in Alberta, Canada, and have just arrived to Abraham Lake for a hike of your life. The lake is frozen, and the view is awesome. Those bubbles under the ice look like hundreds of frozen jellyfish. In reality, they're made of methane, a toxic and highly flammable gas produced by bacteria living on the bottom of the lake. That's why the sign is there. If you so much as light a match on this ice, it might set the whole thing on fire. Luckily, you've taken note of it on the way here and put away the fireworks you wanted to light up. Another place, another time. Another lake. This one's not frozen. In fact, it probably hasn't seen a winter since the last ice age. We're in Cameroon now, and the place is called Lake Nyos. It looks peaceful, but make no mistake, its orange-brown waters hide a deadly secret. The lake rests atop a highly volatile area, and the fissures in its bottom let out massive amounts of carbon dioxide. When the ground shifts, this gas spills out of the lake and flows miles around it. The concentrations are so high that one breath of it would make you faint, and you'd have zero chance of waking up. You get the picture. But the most sinister thing about it is that the CO2 doesn't have a smell or color, so you wouldn't even see it coming. Local authorities have set up a system of pipes that drains the gas from the lake, making it relatively safe for people and animals in the vicinity. And another toxic lake, Kivu, on the border of Congo and Rwanda, has even been made to provide energy for millions of people thanks to its gases. While we're in Africa, the Danakil Depression in Ethiopia is also worth a blood-curdling visit. Dubbed the hottest place on Earth, it sure lives up to its name. The ravine is peppered with extremely hot springs, toxic acid ponds, and active volcanoes. The landscape is surreal, to say the least, and is probably the only inhabited place on Earth where no life can exist. The Afar people live here all year round and gather salt around the springs for trade, while scientists couldn't find any evidence of microbial life in those. Humans are notorious for settling in places most would gladly avoid. Take Mount Tambora in Indonesia. Thousands of people have been living on and around its slopes for centuries until the fateful day in 1815. Tambora is a volcano, and that year it decided to erupt, resulting in a blast that obliterated everything on the island and was heard almost 1,000 miles away. It spewed out so much volcanic ash that it fell in sheets on the surrounding isles and caused a year without a summer in the whole northern hemisphere. It was the most powerful eruption in the last 10,000 years, and Mount Tambora became as much as 5,000 feet lower after it. But back to our time. There's an island you won't be allowed to visit, but I bet you wouldn't want to anyway. The Snake Island in Brazil is home to thousands of snakes, as its name implies. The moment you step on its soil, you're in grave danger of being bitten by a viper. The island is also the only place you can meet a golden lancehead viper, the encounter of a lifetime, literally. This place is so dangerous that Brazil has banned tourists and any other visitors from it unconditionally. Okay, gotta go. Now, get your warmest clothes on and don't forget a fur face mask. We're going to Omayak in Russia. It's a small town in the far north that's often called the coldest place on the planet where people still live. The only place with a lower average temperature is Antarctica, and that's saying something. In the winter, If you so much as forget to put on a sweater, another sweater, and a fur coat, you'll get frozen to the bone in mere seconds. Temperatures here drop to the chilling minus 96 degrees Fahrenheit. Fresh fruit turns to chunks of ice in minutes and becomes so hard you could drive nails into wood with an apple here. Now, before you freeze in place, let's go somewhere no boat will take you. The Skeleton Coast in Namibia. No, really, you can only drive or fly in here because boats and ships won't go near the place. The waters are treacherous, sudden gales toss vessels around, and sharp rocks hiding underwater are all too happy to ram into their hulls. The coast itself stretches for hundreds of miles and is divided into southern and northern parts. Visitors on all-terrain vehicles are allowed freely into the southern part, but only about 800 people a year can get to the northern one, and only with guided tours. People are known to have been lost in this desert forever, and it's a daunting place to go. It got its name from numerous animal carcasses found here. Still, about 50,000 indigenous people managed to survive in this place, along with adapted animals, lizards, hyenas, and even elephants. Now, you'd expect a living destruction machine anywhere but the heart of Europe. Naples, one of the most famous cities in Italy, is built on top of an active supervolcano. In 2018, scientists noticed this monster of a mountain was building up magma in its depths. They say it isn't likely to erupt in the near future, but there's a smaller yet no less dangerous volcano just a few miles off, the infamous Vesuvius. You might remember it for the immolation of the Roman city of Pompeii about 2,000 years ago. You might, but I wasn't around then. This one has been active for a long while, and both citizens and guests of Naples put their lives at stake every single day they spend in town. But hey, while you're there, try the pizza. Northeast of France is also an unwelcoming place. A chain of areas has been dubbed Zone Rouge, or Red Zone, and declared off-limits since the 1920s. If, by some wild chance, you find yourself in one of these places, you'll only see wilted plants and scorched earth, so much in contrast with the lush landscapes of the rest of the country. The soil and air is so polluted here that people are prohibited to enter for fear of choking. And in any case, nothing can live in the red zone at the time. There's an inhabited island in Japan that was once closed for air travel for 8 years. Miyagi-jima is basically a volcano on whose slopes people live. It has been erupting roughly every 20 years, and the latest eruption was in 2000. The volcano doesn't normally spill lava, but instead it throws out enormous clouds of toxic sulfuric gases. Hey, don't forget your mask. Speaking of which, at the peak of its activity, residents of the island had to wear gas masks at all times, and even years after the eruption, they took those masks with them just in case. Hey, I can relate. Not far from where we've just been, in Kamchatka region of Russia, there's an incredibly beautiful valley in which you don't want to stay for too long. It's ominously called the Valley of Death, and it sits at the base of another active volcano. When the mountain lets out its fumes, spoiler, quite often, the toxic gases, heavier than air, go down its slopes and right into the valley. Small critters have no chance of survival breathing this stuff, and even larger animals and humans will have trouble getting out unscathed. Another deadly vacation destination is Saltstraumen Strait in Norway. It looks serene and beautiful, and you can almost feel it inviting you to take a dip and bathe in its waters. Don't do that though. Every 6 hours, the calm strait turns into a roaring mass dotted with huge and powerful whirlpools. It's all because of a tidal current between two fjords the strait is connecting. Here, on a high tide, the rush of water is too massive for the narrow stream, making it a deadly trap for both swimmers and boats. Now, over in Bolivia, there's a 45 miles long road that only the bravest dare to traverse. Yungas Road goes along the side of a mountain range and is a major attraction for cyclists craving for a thrill. A new passage has been built that bypasses the most dangerous parts of the route, but the original road was very narrow, with the abyss and no guardrails to speak of on one side and a steep slope on the other. Frequent landslides, fog, and rains made cycling here extremely dangerous and unpredictable, which, of course, never stopped adrenaline seekers from all over the world to come here for a bike ride like no other. Finally, if you like hot springs, you might also love a visit to Boiling Lake in Dominica. Located in a national park, it's a cavity filled with constantly boiling water from the rivers in the vicinity. It's kept hot by the extremely hot springs of toxic gas, and the fumes above the surface are also toxic. The lake attracts tourists, but getting too close to it might prove really dangerous. It's known to burst, flooding the surrounding area with clouds of gas. When you think of the world's most dangerous bird, as I do sometimes, eagles or vultures may come to your mind. Surprisingly, these awkward cassowaries may cause way more damage than the other more notorious angry birds I first mentioned. The largest cassowary species may be as tall as an average person and weighing as much. These plump birds can't fly, but neither can you. Plus, they run fast, so don't you try to escape from them. They can reach you even in water since they're great swimmers. They can run as fast as 30 miles per hour, so you might need a getaway car if there's a cassowary who's mad at you. But don't worry, their attacks are quite rare anyways. Mute swans are gorgeous, graceful creatures. At least that's what we all think. But touching one of these 28-pound birds is a bad idea. They have bony spurs in their wings that they use to take enemies out. Their wingspan is about 8 feet, and they can slap you with all of that. And they also bite. Don't ever get too close to one. They regularly go after humans, especially if the bird has younglings nearby. And don't let the name fool you either. They aren't mute. Swans can hiss loudly and even bark. Good warning signs that you're encroaching a bit too close. Humans and magpies have always had weird, almost love-hate relationships. These medium-sized birdies can be pretty aggressive at times, but if you treat them well, you'll probably become friends. They can recognize human faces, and they're sure to come back to your balcony if you treat them to something yummy. If you offend a magpie, they're gonna remember that too and bear some grudges. So keep an eye on your eye. Pardon the pun. Pelicans are symbols of love, and they say they're ready to sacrifice their own life to protect their offspring. Now it's clear why they can swallow the entire prey without even chewing it or tearing it. You just don't want to go near their nest. Sure, you're not a tiny fish and pelican beaks are too small for a human being, but you don't want to be bitten now, do you? Okay, this one's gonna frighten you only with its name. A shoebill stork is an impressively large bird, up to 5 feet, just below the average human height. No wonder they can fight a crocodile. Alright, a baby crocodile. But they need only their super powerful jaw to win in one hit. Still not afraid? Well, they make blood-chilling noises as if you were in some action blockbuster movie. If you think these cowardly ostriches don't pose any danger, you got it wrong. Twice. First, they actually don't shove their heads in the sand. It's an optical illusion. And yeah, how are they even supposed to breathe in the sand? Second, these guys are kinda overprotective parents. So if you ever want to approach their young, these heavyweight beasts who can run as fast as a car within city limits are gonna come for you. Not scared yet? Well, you should be. Ostriches are the closest living relatives to T-Rex, together with chickens. What seems look quite harmless, except for their foul smell, but that's another story. But their babies have notorious wings. The chicks' flappers have 2 distinct claws that are multi-purpose. First, they are a sort of protection against predators, and second, they help them climb trees in case the baby's out of the nest. Once they grow up, the claws disappear just like milk teeth. Size doesn't matter at times. If you were a hummingbird, you'd have to eat almost 300 pounds of food per day to maintain normal weight with that little bird's metabolism. But the lifespan would be way shorter too, only about 3 to 5 years. If you dye your hair, you probably have more in common with a bearded vulture than you might think. We're probably the only two species in the world who use dye on purpose. Vultures dye their feathers with red soil to show their dominance over other birds. People, well, we just like changes. California condors may not be as large as an aircraft, but they're huge anyways. Their wingspan is almost 10 feet. These are potentially dangerous for people, but chances that you ever meet them are slim. There are only about 200 of them left in the US. Here you are, looking for something yummy in the fridge, but you just can't see what you really want. If you were a Bashan thrust, you'd break wind at the fridge. Sounds gross, but that's apparently the way these birdies look for hiding worms. They give them a gas attack, so the worms get shocked and yippee! They are now an easy target for a Bashan thrush. Hold your nose and bon appetit! Okay, enough of those funky stories. Let's look at the skies. You wouldn't expect a poisonous bird on this list, but alas, I present to you the hooded pitahui. Scientists found out they were poisonous when they kept experiencing numbness and a burning sensation after handling these birds. There are lots of toxins in their feathers, especially on the underside. The birds don't produce toxins themselves. They probably get them from the beetles they eat. Or how about the spur-winged goose? These guys are notorious for being toxic too. And the toxicity comes from munching on blister beetles. Blech. It's safe to touch them, but eating one can lead to irreversible consequences. Wink wink. The toxin remains even after cooking. Another bird you don't want to eat is a common quail. Don't mix it up with a Japanese quail, which is usually kept as poultry. Common quails can be really poisonous, leading to even such dreadful consequences as kidney failure. It all depends on the certain plants this bird eats. Good news, it's only poisonous during the migration period, but it's yummy and safe outside the migration. If you're not quite sure, it's better to avoid this one on your plate unless you want some muscle soreness. If you spot a cute, fluffy, snowy owl, you better close your eyes and run. They might look innocent, but in fact they have razor-sharp talons which they know perfectly how to use. They point them at the most vulnerable parts, like head, eyes, you got it. Do not mess with a snowy owl. One more species you don't want to contact is the little shrike thrush. Say that a few times fast. Shrike thrush. Just look at this tiny birdie and its innocent eyes. And don't let them fool you. Remember the way they look and never touch them. They're as poisonous as notorious Central and South American dart frogs. Blue-capped Ifrita may be tiny, but it has a toxic mechanism that makes this small birdie invincible. They eat only certain types of beetles that provide this bird with special toxins. Even if you touch it, you'll probably get numb as a result of intoxication. It's inedible since the toxins don't disappear even when it's cooked. Golden eagles are the power lifters in the bird's world. They can carry weights up to 4 pounds. They pick up tortoises and other prey easily. These mighty birds are strong enough to steal a toddler, but they actually never do that. Moreover, in Mongolia, people even use these eagles to hunt wolves. Canada geese have been living close to humans for years, but they're still wary of us getting near their homes, especially in the spring mating season. At this time, the geese can chase and bite people they consider a threat to their eggs, mates, or babies. If you want to avoid being attacked by these seriously angry birds, the best thing you can do is just slowly back away. Romantic seagulls in the sky don't seem to cause many problems. The worst thing they can do is leave you some unwanted droppings. Well, this impression is pretty misleading because these birds are very aggressive. Like all of their kind, they don't attack because they feel like doing so. So the rule is quite simple. Just don't touch those birds and stay away from their nests. Oh, and when the time machine is finally invented, be especially careful with the birds from the past. Velociraptors are long past existing, just like the rest of the dinosaurs. They had talons and feathers, so these guys were actual birds and not scaly lizards. By the way, These are the stiletto-sharp talons you should be afraid of. These could cut anything. Beware if you go into the future too, you never know what's waiting for you over there. Wow, if you're a lucky owner of a brand new iPhone 12, or you've just updated your operating system to iOS 14, don't be afraid of that creepy green or orange dot that pops up in the upper right corner. Green dot shows you're using your camera, and orange indicates you're using the microphone. Let's say you have TikTok in the background that might passively use both camera and mic. These dots will show it. It can help control the battery life. To make your iPhone louder, go to Settings, Music, and find the equalizer. It's called EQ in the menu. Late night option will make your phone about 20% louder than it used to be. You can also create a unique vibration for any of your contacts. Go to Settings, Sounds, and open the ringtone settings. You usually have the default vibration, but if you scroll down a bit, you're going to see the Custom section. Tap any rhythm you like and save it. You can set it for any of your contacts. If customized vibration isn't enough, and you still miss your granny's calls, try to customize the flash. Turn it on as an extra notification for incoming calls. Go to General Settings, choose the Accessibility section, and head to Hearing. Turn on the LED flash for alerts. You're never going to miss that call again. If you press the space button and start sliding, you'll have a cursor. It can be handy if you want to find a typo or correct some word in the notes or whatever text you're dealing with. Now, if you typed a very long message, but it turns out you need to get rid of it, you can literally shake it off. Just shake the phone to undo the typing. Whenever you need to choose more than one icon, tap and hold only one, and, with the second finger, add all the other icons you need. This one's not going to work if you have an iPhone 6 or older. The newest iPhones have a super convenient feature that is helpful when you need to go from one application to another. Look at that line at the bottom of the screen. Slide left or right and find the app you need. No more double tapping and notification center. If you like falling asleep to your favorite music or to another YouTube video, just like I do, go to Clock. Tap the timer and select When the Time Ends section. Scroll down until you see Stop Playing button. This feature shuts down all the media apps such as music, any windows that play sounds or video, and even the YouTube app. Pretty handy if you ever woke up at 3 a.m. in the middle of some random video that was auto-played. Yeah. We're all used to messengers, but iMessages are fun. Press the Send button to add different wow effects to your message. The bubble section has 4 features. Invisible ink makes it impossible to read the message unless you wipe it with a finger. Slide the finger from right to left and back to kinda clear it. With the gentle effect, the letters seem really tiny at the start, but then they grow larger. The loud effect, vice versa, makes them pop at the start so they appear way larger, but the size goes back to normal in a few seconds. The slam effect speaks for itself. The message literally slams the screen. Tap the right button called the Screen Effects. It's fun too. For example, it has echo effects, so your friend's screen's going to be overwhelmed with echoing texts. Slide right for a lot more different effects. There's definitely one for touching text you're about to send. The iPhone font has different sizes as well. To make it bigger or smaller, go to the Display and Brightness section in the setting. Tap the text size and adjust it the way you like. You can take a selfie not only with the volume button on your phone, but simply by hitting that button on your headphones. This hack is for iPhone users, but many Androids can use it too. Mind that it usually works with original headphones. iPhones may not have the most durable batteries, but they beat everyone when it comes to photo quality. Turn on the grid in the camera settings. Go to General, choose Camera to enable the grid. It can help you make better compositions in the photo. If you like typing with one hand, it's probably high time you set the right keyboard. While typing, hold the globe button. 3 keyboards will appear. The one on the left is used whenever you type holding your phone in the left hand. The one in the middle is for both hands, and the one on the right is for typing with the right hand only. If you like writing long, romantic letters in your notes but don't want anyone to read them, set a pass to any of your notes. There are 2 ways to do that, depending on your iPhone model. For iPhone 6, you gotta slide from right to left and see 3 icons: lock, folder, and bin. Use the bin if the romantic letter is bad, and the lock to protect it from peeky eyes. Set the pass, but make sure you actually remember it. You can't delete it. If this didn't work, just tap and hold the note itself, and you'll see the password bar in the drop-down menu. Set the pass, and nobody's gonna know about the romantic letters to Jane you're writing at night. Newest models of iPhone support the coolest feature ever. Now you can make a screenshot of the whole browser page in one file. To do this, press the volume up button plus the power button. If you need to find some special word combination while you're reading an online article, go to the search bar and type the word you're interested in. You're going to see 3 sections: Google Search, Bookmarks and History, and On This Page. Tap the last one. The word you need's going to be highlighted in yellow. Plus, there'll be a special navigation bar on the bottom with the arrows up and down to look for the keyword easily. Don't forget to refresh your iPhone's RAM every now and again. It can help your device work better and faster. To do that, you gotta drill down deep. Go to Setting, General, Accessibility, Assistive Touch, and turn it on. Press plus, then minus, and then the power button. You'll see the power off bar. Press the Assistive Touch and hold the Home button. The RAM's refreshed now. If you see the Enter Pass notification after you did it, it means you did it all right. Assistive Touch can also help you set new functions to simple taps. Go to Settings, General, Accessibility, and in the Assistive Touch section, you can change any commands in the Custom Actions menu. For a double tap, I chose the screenshot, since a combination of Home plus Power button seems a bit inconvenient. To make a screenshot, tap the Accessibility menu circle twice. People with iPhones don't need a separate app for QR readers, since all the iPhones have them built in. Turn on the camera and point it to the code. You'll see the pop-up window on the top of the screen. Tap the window and you'll go straight to whatever link the QR code had. If it doesn't work, enable the Scan QR Codes function in the camera settings. You can actually set any song you like for the alarm clock. Go to the alarm and press Edit in the right upper corner. Tap the time you want to change the melody for. In the sound section, choose Pick a Song and go for any song added to your library. Disclaimer: your best loved song will probably turn into your worst enemy after a couple of mornings you use it as an alarm. One of the most hated problems of all iPhone users is when you run out of memory. Even if you delete the photos, there's still not enough space. Go to Settings, iPhone Storage, and make sure that recently deleted photos are actually deleted. If not, delete them in the storage sections. Note that your messages can contain heavy files, so you can restrict how long the message can be stored. In the message history, tap the Keep Messages button. It's forever by default, but you can keep them for 1 year or even only 30 days. If you deal with many documents to be signed, this hack can help you sign them without even printing and scanning. Take a screenshot of the document you want to sign. Then tap the screenshot to make changes. Tap the plus button in the right lower corner. Choose the signature button in the toolbar, and here we go. Sign the document with your finger and save the changes by pressing the button marked Done. And so are we. Technology is your friend, but it's still better to lock your door with a good old-fashioned key. Better than relying on voice-controlled digital assistants. You can use a laser beam to sabotage those things. Burglars change a laser's intensity, find the perfect frequency, and trick your digital assistant into thinking it heard a command to open your door.
Okay, opening.
Your garage door's extra vulnerable. If your normal key all of a sudden gets stuck in the keyhole, or it's randomly really hard to turn the key, It might be a sign that your house is a target. You might want to think about changing the lock. It's possible that someone already tried to break in. Yeah, unexpected expenses are kind of annoying, but security comes first. Many convenience stores have fake CCTV cameras mounted in literally every corner. The ones over the cashier are for sure real, but the others? Time for some sweet DIY. An old shoebox and some random lenses from the attic's not gonna break the bank. Add a blinking light, maybe battery-powered, and voila! Most bad guys won't risk it if they see a hidden gadget. Even the slightest chance of being caught on camera frightens them away. If handmade stuff isn't your thing, just put up a fake CCTV sign. You can make one yourself if you have one of those fancy printers, or just buy one online. Another fake thing you might want to get is a dog. A fake dog? Yeah. Put up a beware of dog sign, problem solved. Thieves are going to be less likely to choose your house as their target. Now, if you actually have a dog, good for you. Your dog's nose is so powerful, it can smell even the sneakiest intruder, and its bark is a great alarm. Honestly though, you can buy a real home security camera online for only about $30. It's probably a good investment. Alright, so your home's a veritable fortress, decked out with high-end security and state-of-the-art door and window locks, and a dog. But you still have that old rusty ladder just lying there in the bushes in your backyard. You come home from work only to find that your house has been robbed, Santa-style. And never leave your toolbox outside. It's like an open invitation to break and enter. Try leaving a pair of large work boots on the porch. Makes it look like there's someone home, someone pretty big and strong. Who's gonna risk that kind of trouble? If you're not afraid of a juiced-up electric bill, leave a radio or TV on when you go out. And Grandma's classic, keep a lamp on with a timer. Now it looks like someone's home. Make sure it's on from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. That's peak intruder time. Burglars famously leave hidden marks outside your house, maybe a scratch on a tree or a line of chalk somewhere on your mailbox. It's their special code to remind them which houses have security and which ones don't. You can be crafty too. If you feel like something's wrong, mark your house to see if there were any unexpected visitors while you were away. Leave some cookies under your welcome mat. If they're crumbled when you get home, you know someone was snooping around. Cute dog pictures, sure, but be careful what you share with your followers. Remember that intruders can easily find you on social media. An innocent status update like "finally on vacation" just makes it way too easy, you know? Share with your friends, not with the whole internet. Burglars are experts, remember that. They might see a broken window lock in the background of your latest selfie or notice some expensive jewelry while you're busy doing a TikTok dance. It gets even easier when you post what your amazing boyfriend bought me for my birthday. Now they know what you have and where it is in your house. Your trash is sort of like social media too. It can give away a lot of things about you. One word, shredder. Make sure any paper with your name, phone, date of birth, passport number, credit card numbers gets turned into confetti before dumping it in the trash. Just watch out if you're wearing a tie. Uh-oh. And don't forget to rip that address sticker off any packages you might get. Now, a lot of burglaries are done by people who have been in your house before. They already know where everything is. Whenever you invite someone you don't know inside, you're letting them right past all that security that took you so long to install. If a potential burglar finds your house appetizing, you're almost guaranteed to get robbed later. So, if you absolutely have to invite someone in, don't keep anything super valuable on display. It might trigger unwanted attention. As much as you might want to outdo your neighbor, take it easy on the front yard fancy stuff. Burglars have a good eye for value. If you put your money, time, and effort into decorating your front yard, you're probably doing the same thing for the inside of your house. Keep your front yard nice but simple. It'll save you from unwanted attention. Sunscreen isn't the only protection you need on vacation. Your house needs protection too. Before setting off on a trip, ask your relatives or friends to keep an eye on your house or apartment. Have them feed your fish, water your plants. Let everyone see that people are popping in now and again. And don't forget the thank you souvenirs. Most burglars will try to break into your house from the ground floor. It's much easier. But that tall tree growing right by your upstairs window looks so inviting. Keep any trees trimmed so that it's impossible to climb in. If you still prefer good old cash to credit cards, don't stash it under your mattress or in the freezer. That's what banks are for. If you have to, just keep enough around for your monthly expenses. The place where you store your valuables matters. If you have something to hide, remember, the kitchen and bathroom are usually the least interesting places for intruders. If you have a gold ring with a 24-karat diamond, good for you. Hide it under the tub or in a packet of pasta. Your bedside table's the first place they're gonna look. Get creative and hide your valuables before you set off on that amazing trip. Inside a jam jar, in a Ziploc bag, inside of a bag of flour. Uh-oh, giving away all my secrets. The main thing to remember is that you need to keep your valuables away from liquids and powders that might damage them. Don't chuck your wedding ring in a bottle of bleach. Whatever you hide your valuables in, don't forget to put it back among other similar containers. That makes it extra hard to find. Another chance for a thief is when you sell your car. Delete the ads you posted as soon as you sell it. If you get calls about your car asking if you sold it already, for how much, did you take cash, that's an MVP burglar probing for personal info. Just hang up the phone. The first tip-off of any empty house is a mailbox overflowing with flyers, envelopes, and coupons. You can see that a house is empty just by driving by. No effort at all. Have someone collect your mail and pause your subscriptions when you head out of town. If you're on good terms with your neighbors, you can try to set up a watching schedule. That way, you can keep an eye on each other's homes. It's a good idea to give your most trustworthy neighbor a spare key. That way, you know they can check inside if they see something suspicious, or double-check to make sure you didn't leave the stove on. The phone rings, you pick it up, but there's nobody on the other end. Seems like someone's trying to check if you're really home. Just be careful. If they start bothering you quite often, it might be a sign that your house is now a burglar's target. Keep a lookout for people taking selfies or photos near your car. You never know what info they might find when they zoom in. Maybe a flyer from a local gym, a PTA bumper sticker. That might be enough information to start planning a robbery. So, you're at home, enjoying your evening tea under a warm blanket, when all of a sudden you see a huge, enormous mosquito. Its long and gangly legs have a span of your palm, and it clumsily bumps into all the obstacles it meets. Despite its awkward appearance, it's still terrifying. What if it carries malaria? What if it eats you alive in your sleep? Slowly, not to draw the monster's attention to yourself, you get out from your soft chair and run for it into the bathroom, lock yourself in there, and open the browser on your phone. After a few seconds, you draw a ragged breath of relief. Turns out it's just a crane fly, not a mosquito at all. It might look like a ferocious beast, but it's actually peaceful and even defenseless. Many crane flies don't even have mouths, so they don't eat at all, and those that have a mouthpiece will only munch on sweet flower nectar. Crane flies are really clumsy in the air. Their rather short wings are no match for their huge bodies and long legs, so they're slow and it's easy to catch them. Birds and frogs, as well as bats and cats, love them as a treat. The only way they can avoid being eaten is by losing a limb. Their legs easily break off even when nothing touches them. And if you're still unconvinced not to scram and set your house on fire when you see one, consider this. Crane flies can tell you if the water pool you're about to swim in is of good quality. If you see these bugs on or above the water, you're good to go. Even more, fishers often make their bait look like the crane fly larva. This makes it more appetizing for the fish. But while Googling, you get engrossed with reading up on some other weird and crazy bugs. For example, here's the human-faced stink bug. Nah, they don't really stink, at least for humans. They give off pheromones that attract other stink bugs, letting them know there's food nearby. The most peculiar feature of it is in the name. A man-faced stink bug has a face on its back, with 3 black dots drawn in red. The vibrant color of its back warns predators that the bug isn't tasty or even poisonous, while the black eyes draw attention from them to the vulnerable head. Saddleback caterpillar's name is also quite telling. It looks like some creature from another planet with a bright green saddle over its back. And the saddle is, sadly, the only safe part of the thing to touch. The spines you see all over the rest of its body are sharp and highly poisonous. If you want to give it a friendly tap on the back, make sure you don't touch anything else. Well, we have a titan beetle next. Meet the largest beetle in the whole world. It can grow as long as your entire palm, complete with fingers. Seeing one in the wild can be a shocking experience, especially if it flies right in your face. But don't fret, thankfully this giant is placid and won't bite you if you don't mean it harm. Still, if you make it angry, never let its mandibles touch you. The bug will hiss and bite, and what such snap can crack a pencil in half. What's interesting, an adult titan beetle doesn't feed at all. It doesn't need food to survive. As a larva, it gets enough energy to keep it well nourished even when grown up. Ooh, I'd love that ability. An even more menacing looking bug is a giant weta. Living in New Zealand, these cricket-like creatures look like someone forgot to lock the portal to the infernal. A massive, beefy body with 6 thorny legs, long alien-looking antennae, and big mandibles that just might cut steel. Well, in fact, these giant insects are quite peaceful and won't bite unless provoked. And even if they do, it's not as bad as you might think. There are videos with wetas biting hands of people holding them and doing no harm at all. So don't let it scare you, even though such an insect might weigh more than a full-fledged sparrow. Atlas moths look like they have 3 heads, 2 of which are serpents. These pretty nocturnal flyers have strange shapes on the tips of their wings that look like snake heads. This seems to be their mode of defense from predators. And that's also why they're sometimes called cobra moths. In Southeast Asia and India, where they normally dwell, atlas moths are often found on butterfly farms producing silk. And that's some sight. The wingspan of one such moth can reach 10 inches. That's larger than your hand. Peacock spiders are perhaps the cutest arachnids in the world, second maybe only to their jumping cousins. They're so tiny you probably wouldn't even notice one scrambling through your kitchen. But if you get a chance to take a closer look, do it. Peacock spiders are beautiful. They have large, beady eyes, a shiny blue and red coat, and cute fuzz on their body and legs. And their mating dance is something else entirely. Too bad they only live in Australia. Another moth on the list, the hummingbird moth. Remember the atlas one, how huge it was? Well, this one's as big as a hummingbird and holds much more resemblance to its namesake than that. The speed at which it flutters its wings, the long tongue to drink flower nectar, and even the sound it makes when flying, all of it makes you wonder if it's really a moth after all. Of course, the fuzzy critter is absolutely safe, and you should consider yourself lucky if you ever see one. Long-horned orb weaver spider is one of the most unusual arachnids in the world. It's just your regular spider in all respects, but for some reason, it boasts 2 long curved horns on its back. The back itself is bright orange to ward off predators. Red means danger. But scientists are still unsure why this spider needs those prongs, so there's a web of mystery for you. The soft rustling of leaves underneath, a pile of them slightly moving, and a big mighty horn shows up. It's the Hercules beetle, one of the largest beetles on the planet. Almost half of its size comes from that horn on its head. Thanks to this wonderful appendage, you know exactly it's a male. Females don't have it at all. Yet the name comes not only from the horn, but from the amazing ability of this giant to haul extremely heavy loads. Its strength is second only to dung beetles. A Hercules can carry as much as 850 times its own weight. If you ever see a bug with 5 heads wearing a pointy cap, no, you're not on another planet. It's a Brazilian treehopper. Straight from a sci-fi movie and onto your screens here, this insect is a real mystery. It's small and secretive, and much is still unknown about it. No one knows why exactly the treehoppers have these fuzzy balls on their heads, but they've only got 1 head after all. That much is certain. Going for a swim in a freshwater pond somewhere in the African tropics, Watch your toes. You can get a giant water bug hunting them. It's a predatory bug and the largest of its kind. With those huge pincers, it's no wonder it's commonly known as an alligator flea and a toe biter. The bite of this water-dwelling monster is really quite powerful. It grabs its prey with the front legs and then slowly munches on it. And when I say it's a predator, I mean it. Giant water bugs' favorite food is fish and amphibians. Despite their name, scorpion flies aren't related to scorpions. They get this moniker thanks to their tails, which look a lot like the notorious arachnids. Seeing a flying scorpion is a daunting sight at best, but fear not, these critters are small and gentle, and they can't even bite you. Only the males have such a tail, and they use it to attract females. Hey! What do you imagine when you hear the words walking stick? Certainly not a bug, but that's exactly what it is. Look at this twig and try to guess. Is there something alive on it or not? Yes and no. This twig is not a twig at all. It is a walking stick. These insects have developed a fascinating camouflage. They're long and unassuming, able to stay still for hours on end, which makes them look like dry twigs. But as soon as you touch one, it scrambles away on its gangly legs. Thanks to their appearance, predatory birds often miss walking sticks in the dense foliage, and their Australian kin give off a pleasant scent, something like peanut butter. Ooh, yum. Ah, the beauty of nature all around you, the fresh air, and days of meditative rest far away from civilization ahead of you. But you've been walking for quite some time to get this far, and now it's time to set up camp. The woods around are dense, and there's no suitable place to put up your tent. Then you notice a nice green patch completely devoid of trees and only sprinkled with some low-growing bushes. Well, you go there, smug about your find, and get to work on the tent. The ground is unusually soft and smooth, but that doesn't bother you too much. All the better. The pegs go into the soil like a knife into butter. By the time you're done, it's dark already, so you get inside the tent and crawl into your cozy sleeping bag. You wake up from a creepy feeling that something's not right. You feel wet? You start wriggling inside your bag and yes, it's almost completely soaked from below. You rush out of the tent as quickly as you can and see that it's started to sink into the ground. Turns out you've set up camp on a swamp. And you've been lucky too. Swamps aren't always obvious. Sometimes you won't even see them until you're knee-deep in muck and trouble. Getting out of there can be tricky as well. The moss and roots create a soft padding that's slowly pulling you under. And when you try to raise your feet, you might end up without your boots. Telling a forest swamp is fairly easy when you know what to look for. If you're in a dense thicket and see a lush, sunlit glade where nothing but moss and an occasional bush grows, chances are high it's a swamp. You can also check it by stepping lightly on this serene ground. If it feels springy, better stay away. One other thing the swamp can be dangerous for is, surprisingly, a forest fire. If you stay too close to a swamp and start a campfire, it might catch on, especially if there's a strong wind. Swamps and marshes are chock full of tar hidden underneath the layers of water and moss. When it starts to burn, extinguishing it is nearly impossible. Always keep a safe distance from any swamp before starting a campfire. Another common mistake while breaking camp in the wild is not looking up. Let's say you found some solid ground to put up the tent, cleared it from all the nasty cones and stones, and made sure there aren't any anthills close by. You don't want anything to creep inside your sleeping bag at night, do you? The spot you've chosen is perfect, and the tree your tent is leaning to protects you from the wind and rain. You set up for the night, turning off your camping light, and suddenly, your tent is thrashing as if a wild beast has attacked you. Bewildered, you scrambled out and see a huge branch has fallen on top of your tent. The worst thing about this is that you would have seen it coming if only you'd looked up before setting up camp. Half-broken and rotten branches are easy to spot, and it's never a good idea to put your tent straight beneath them. Such a thing can break off at any moment, And you'll be lucky if it doesn't tear your tent and harm you. Crunch. Dozens of tourists make this mistake every year and often pay dearly for it. Looking up will also help you make sure there are no wasp nests or spider nets above you. These might prove even worse than a branch because wasps don't like to be disturbed, and spiders may turn out to be venomous. Now, if you see a beautiful river and decide to break camp on its banks, pay special attention to where exactly you put up your tent as well. If you stay too close to the water, especially in spring or fall, chances are you'll find yourself afloat in the middle of the night. Always check the weather forecast for the day and the night after. If there's a chance of rain, better stay away from any bodies of water, especially rivers. The rain might raise the water level in it and make it burst its banks, drowning your little camp and ruining your vacation. But even if you're far from water, rain could spoil it for you. Say you're once again deep in the forest and tree crowns are protecting you from the weather. Precipitation still gets to the forest floor, but at least it's not as bad as in the open. The next night, when you set up camp in another place, you feel the ground is soft and springy. It's not a swamp though, just the last night's rain has loosened the soil. If you're in such a spot, better move to somewhere solid. Thing is, soft and loose ground might start creeping out from under you at any point. This movement isn't as dangerous as when you're in a swamp, but the pegs of your tent might come loose too, and you'll end up buried underneath a pile of rugs that used to be your tent. And if you decided to set up your camp in a cozy-looking valley, and the rain starts falling when you're already there, well, prepare for a nice floating trip. All the water will naturally go down and into your shelter, eventually finding its way under your tent. No wonder you'll find yourself knee-deep in rainwater when you wake up. Oh, what a great spot for taking a bit of rest after a long walk. It's on a hilltop, so there's no water nearby, the sun's shining, and not a single tree to block it out. Sunbathing here's gotta be fabulous. Well, it seems this way for the first few hours. But when you stay here long enough, you'll see the error of your decision. Direct sunlight on your tent can make it hot in a matter of hours due to the materials it's made of. And you'll feel it on your skin as soon as you crawl inside. Let's just say you won't want to stay in there for long until it's night and the tent's cooled down at least. Same thing with the wind. In an open spot, gusts can reach crazy speeds, and if you haven't been careful while hammering down the pegs, you might say goodbye to your tent sooner than you'd like. It's best to find a spot near a tree that would protect you both from the sun and the wind. Still, don't get tempted to camp near a lone tree when the weather forecast isn't in your favor. Both sunny and rainy weather are okay, but if there's a serious storm coming, a single standing tree will serve as a lightning rod. It's not hard to imagine what may come if lightning strikes a tree you're camping under. Hey, you might get a charge out of it. When winter camping, the weather can be even more treacherous. Remember what I said about direct sunlight? Forget it. In winter, it's best to have the sun shining on your tent. The cold might get to you no matter how cool and expensive your tent is, and the winds are generally much more vicious in the cold season. Direct sunlight will help you cope with much of the cold. One of the more common mistakes hikers make is starting a campfire too close to the tent. Again, the material of the tent conducts heat very well, and it's a good thing when it's warm. But it also catches on fire easily. Sometimes, one spark is enough to burn your shelter to cinders. Make sure there's enough room between your tent and the campfire, and never leave your fire unsupervised. When you go to sleep, it's a rule to extinguish the fire so that you don't wake up to a blazing inferno around you. Insects can ruin even the most exciting hike. Mosquitoes, ants, ticks, and other pesky bugs can find their way into your tent wherever you are, so make sure you protect yourself from them. Use skin repellents when you go outside and put an anti-insect spiral next to the entrance to your tent. Don't put it too close or inside though. The smell is irritating and it can also cause a fire. To avoid the best part of mosquitoes, and especially ticks, try to stay away from lakes, ponds, and dense forests where swamps may occur. Skeeters reproduce in still water, so areas around such pools are replete with the winged pests. But they have a hard time flying when there's some wind, so choosing an open spot is your best bet to get rid of them. Don't let them bug you. The monster holds onto a blade of grass, reaching its front legs out, ready to grab the next innocent bystander. If you saw it, you'd think it's a referee doing the touchdown signal. But no, this tick is questing. Not on a quest. I mean, it's sitting there, waiting for lunch in victory pose. It's really called questing in the tick world. But back to the eerie, hair-raising stuff. Cue the music. Right now, it's smelling and scanning the space around it. This beast is hungry, and it's waiting for you to get closer. Just a little more. Almost there. And gotcha! You fell right into this parasite's ambush, and it's already crawling up your pants leg. Ticks aren't just forest dwellers. They're everywhere. In the city park or your beautiful suburban yard. Where you're not as likely to see one is crawling around on your walls. I mean, habitually. Like that guy right there. Yeah, him. Zoom in. Looks like a tick to me. No, zoom in closer. There, that's better. See, this is no tick. It's a crab spider. The Zysticus kind, to be exact. Since crab spiders come in all colors and sizes, just you wait. For now, this little guy is brown. Easily recognizable from his longer forearms, make that longer forearms in the front and shorter fore back legs. Like a crab, yeah. Must have been what the scientist who named it thought too. But it's mostly the way they move that won them the nickname. They walk sideways like a crab on the beach. From a distance, it looks like a tick. Up close, not really at all. The crab spider's body is broken up into two sections like any old regular spidey. Or, as they're called in the scientific community, Arachnida hurry-grab-my-slipperus. Okay, I made that second part up. Looking closely at a tick, you'll notice its body is just one solid flat piece. Well, flat before lunch. It's also slightly triangular. Now, grab a magnifying glass and look really close. I dare ya. You'll see crab spiders have 8 eyes. Ticks have none. Remember, they see the world by smelling with their feet. Weird, I know. Ticks are parasites. Duh. They feed on us and other animals like walking juice boxes. A crab spider has no interest in your blood. It's hunting for insects in your house. So, if you suddenly see more of these guys crawling around, it means their lunch has entered your home. So, don't be offended by them showing up uninvited. They're just going where the food is. And definitely, don't be so rude as to squish them. They're just trying to keep your house clean. They're hunting spiders, so they eat by going out and catching their grub, not waiting around passively for a silk net to do all the work. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Black Widow. Okay, that's not entirely true. Crab spiders, like ticks, wait for lunch to come close enough. Then they use those long front legs to snatch it up and nom. And that's why they come in so many colors. The bright ones wait in ambush on vibrant flowers and fruits. The brown ones blend in better with tree branches and leaves. And crab spiders can produce silk. They just don't make webs. They use their built-in grappling hook to get around. And now, the million-dollar question. Do they wear fancy hats? No, I mean, are crab spiders venomous? Yep, sure are. But their tiny little mouth parts could never get through your skin or your pets. So, rest easy. Now, the same can't be said about their cousin, the giant crab spider. It goes by another, more famous name, the huntsman spider. And this thing is big, and fast. Its mouth parts can get through your skin, so don't touch them. Just run. There you go. Now, when nature created this insect, it thought, let's do a butterfly with an alligator's head attached to it. Oh, and make it look like a peanut. There. Ready. Scientists so graciously called this thing Fulgora latinaria, but peanut head sounds better. This peanut-headed lanternfly is large and, like a skunk, it knows how to let out an odorous spray to scare enemies away. Those menacing fake eyes on the wings help too. The strongest survives in the jungle. But what if you're small and defenseless? Option 1, hide your whole life. Option 2, pretend to be the baddest guy in the forest and everyone will be afraid of you. The caterpillar of the elephant hawk moth chose the second route. Ironically, it resembles neither an elephant nor a hawk. If an enemy shows up, this thing goes into snake mode. The caterpillar pulls its head into its body like a turtle. This puffs its body up, and it looks like a snake head. It's got fake eyes and everything. Oh, it puts on a whole show. It sways to the sides all serpent-like. Whatever was about to gobble it up decides, uh-oh, I'll just be on my way. Now, back to spiders. But wait, not all of them look like walking nightmares. Head to Hawaii to find the happy face spider. Its real face might not be especially joyous looking for an arachnid, but the pattern on its back sure looks happy to see you. Fun fact, and that's what I do here, the pattern can change from the spider's food. I'd pay to see what it looks like when it eats something spicy. Whoa, watch out! A giant hornet coming right at you! Nah, just kidding. It's only another master of disguise. This is a hornet moth. No stingers, no worries. And this bug also has learned to mimic the movements of its fashion icon, the hornet. It flies with quick jerking motions. With the leaf bug, everything's clear. It walks and looks like a tree leaf, down to the finest detail. It even has brown spots around the edges to look like a leaf drying out, and their eggs look like seeds. The disguise is great, but Houston, we have a problem. The beetle has to remain motionless for most of its life, hanging there, waiting for lunch to come by and hoping their enemies don't catch on to the act. And here's the coolest part. If the insect needs to move, it starts dancing like a leaf blowing in the wind. The ghost mantis has also perfected the art of leaf mimicking, only this guy's more into the autumn look. It's like a brown crumpled leaf that's fallen from a tree. The mantis has a thin body, and the color depends on how much water is next to its tree and how much shadow is underneath it. When this insect hides, finding it is next to impossible. Perhaps you're more into the branchy look? Then I present to you the walking stick. This bug lives in trees and practically doesn't move. You're thinking, yeah, okay, I've seen those in my backyard, big whoop. But have you seen a gargantuan stick insect? The biggest one found is as long as your back. Bugs have even started copying simple thorns, though probably more effective than just a harmless leaf. The thorn bug's name says it all. Touch me and you'll get pricked. Come on, you wimp. But it's recruited its friends to help keep enemies away. They huddle together and turn an otherwise smooth thornless branch into a spiny ouch place.
Ow!
Hungry birds see this, they're smart, and decide not to land there. Hey, who forgot to close the portal to the parallel universe full of unearthly monsters? Actually, you're still on Earth, and you share the planet with this thing. If you're in Southeast Asia or Australia anyways. Here's what the scientists call it, Creatinus gangus. But I'll name him tentacle bug. Yeah, tentacle bug doesn't usually look like this. He usually looks like your average moth, because that's what he is. But when he's trying to attract a partner, he shoots 2 pairs of massive tentacles from his bottom part. With them, the moth sprays not poison, but pheromones. Those are like smelly good chemicals that attract females. And it works. Hey, to each his own. 12. Harvard scientists discovered 60 species of new insects in the jungles of Suriname. The main find was an unusual bug with grasshopper eyes and bizarre silvery hair. They dubbed it the troll-haired insect because sometimes you just call it as you see it. That silver tail is a wax the insect puts out to keep enemies away. It also cushions the bug's landing when it falls. Imagine you woke up this morning, had breakfast, and went about your business. But instead of clothes, you stuck toast, scrambled eggs, and fried bacon to your body. Odd? Yes. But what else can you do? On the way to the bus, a bird might swoop down and grab you. Okay, this technique works for the emerald moth caterpillar. The bug sticks flower petals to itself and dines on those same flowers. There, now the analogy makes sense. When this flower suit goes bad, the caterpillar collects a new one. It uses its silk to stick the petals on, and thus goes the cycle of this little guy's life of playing dress-up every day. Well, it's that time of year again, spring cleaning. Making your way outside, you grab the duster and broom to get rid of all those cobwebs on your windows. They don't stand a chance this time. Removing one cobweb after the other, you suddenly notice some weird-shaped mud stuck under the eaves and porch. What's this? It suddenly dawns on you. These have to be mud dauber wasp nests. You're probably thinking there's a swarm of them around with so many nests being side by side. Luckily, mud dauber wasps are solitary insects. Whew! All those little mud huts are filled with paralyzed spiders. Sometimes, even up to 500 spiders can be trapped in these lockers, just waiting for the wasp young to hatch. If the nest has holes, it may indicate the nest is inactive or old, as mud dauber wasps create holes when they leave the nest. If you're not going to remove them, it's best to wait till nighttime when they're not as active. While they're pretty placid, if they feel threatened, they won't hesitate to sting. Looking like someone got halfway through building one insect and forgot what part came next, the mole cricket is one insect that really looks out of this world. With claws like a mole, a body of a cricket, and the head of a shrimp, this critter is like the platypus of the insect world. They're not venomous and will only bite if you trap them inside your hand. And if you really annoy it, it's got something else up its sleeve – the wings. They can spit a foul-smelling brown liquid from their body, just like a skunk. So just let them leave your home and there will be nothing to clean up. Rock pools are teeming with all sorts of plant and animal life. Sea creatures such as starfish, seagrass, hermit crabs, tiny fish, and all types of octopuses. If you come across this tiny blue-ringed octopus, it's best to leave it alone. It's flashing neon blue at you for a reason. This miniature octopus has a venomous bite that's 1,000 times stronger than cyanide, with no antidote available. Don't poke it with a stick or try to pick one up. It's not worth the trip to the hospital or the morgue. Snakes on land are scary, but sea snakes are on an entirely different level. Found in the Indian and Pacific Oceans, there are about 50 different species of sea snakes, and they're beautiful as much as they're dangerous. Luckily, they don't seem to worry about us too much. The Dubois sea snake is arguably the most venomous snake in the ocean, with the big sea snake not far behind. Their venom makes a cobra's bite seem like a walk in the park. The venom of both these snakes is extremely dangerous. Good thing for us that their venom can take hours to cause any symptoms in humans. If they can bite through your wetsuit, that is. Now, if this fly lands on your arm outside, you might just scream a little. Hey, I wouldn't blame you. The scorpion fly, as its name suggests, has a curved tail that looks just like a scorpion stinger. But you can breathe a sigh of relief. This is only used for mating. It also has a long beak-like head that's used to feed after stealing insects from spiders' webs. To find the perfect partner, they love to give the equivalent of a box of chocolates and flowers, except theirs is saliva. How romantic. If you happen to be in Africa, you might just miss this large bird if you're not paying attention. The shoebill will just casually stand still as you walk right on by. Growing up to 5 feet tall with an 8-foot wingspan, the shoebill sounds like an apex predator, though it's anything but. Known as one of the most slow-moving birds, almost statue-like, the shoebill just eats fish near the surface of the water without a care in the world. This bird isn't afraid of humans at all. While they won't naturally come over to talk about the weather, they'll allow us to get close enough for some photos. Now, if you hear a small squeaking sound while you're in the garden, it could be a mouse, a squirrel, or a rhinoceros beetle is letting you know that you are too close. They love to make a racket when bothered. With a giant scary horn on top of their head, they might seem like they're able to defend themselves with it. But that's not possible at all. That's only to move leaves and sticks out of their way, and to stop other males from coming into the female beetle's area. Not only have they got a horn on their head, But they've also got Herculean strength, able to lift 850 times their own weight. It's like you or me lifting 65 tons or 11 elephants. Hey, let's try it. Nah. Found mainly in China, the small tufted deer looks adorable with its tuft of hair. That is, until it turns around. Oh no, it's a vampire deer. Luckily, this animal doesn't want to taste your blood or wear a cape. Only males grow these during the mating season rather than antlers to fight over territories and female tufted deer. These fangs are more like elephant tusks than sharp teeth. Not only do they have fangs, but they're also known to bark like a dog and flee like a cat when they're scared. Red sky at night, sailor's delight. Red sky in the morning, sailor's warning. No one said anything about a red tide, though. The red tide is a toxic algal bloom that rises up from the seafloor after particularly bad storms. This algae looks a lot like spilled ketchup or rust in the water, but it's much worse for the life around it. Fish and marine life will try to escape once exposed to the toxic algae in their water. It's not particularly harmful to humans who are exposed to it, but if you eat seafood contaminated with its toxins, things can become a bit more serious. So, if the sea is red, just stay out of the water. Some spiders love to show off with bright colors to show they're dangerous. Not the Sydney funnel web spider of Australia. This glossy black spider doesn't need theatrics to prove it's tough. These bad-tempered crawlers cause serious alarm when they decide to bite us. It can shut down our entire nervous system in as little as 30 minutes. Making their web in any shelter, like old logs, shoes, or even garden gnomes, the funnel web spiders like to live close to our surroundings for easy food. When they get tired of an area, they just leave their web behind and wander off to find somewhere new. Perfect. Some say honey badgers don't care, and I think they might be right. When you're brave enough to take food away from a jaguar, lion, or hyena, hey, what do you got to fear? These tough relatives of the weasel aren't just ferocious, they're super smart. Known to even use tools to escape from enclosures. Objects like rakes, stones, and mud just become things to climb for freedom. Aside from their physical similarities to the skunk, the honey badger also boasts a dangerous gland in its tail containing a powerful stink machine. So they're tough, stinky, have extremely stretchy and strong skin, and to top it all off, they've got a strong immunity to scorpions and snakes. The best thing to do if you walk into a honey badger is to leave it alone. What chance do we have? Ever heard of the fungus strawberries and cream? No? What about its other name, the bleeding tooth fungus? This fungus isn't toxic, but tastes so bitter that you might think twice about trying some. When young and growing, this white mushroom appears to have red jelly coming out of its pores. This sticky liquid is sap that's pushed up from taking on too much water. The adult mushroom is just a boring beige compared to this. Underneath the mushroom cap, where its spores are produced, it has a tooth-like structure, just to make it even weirder. Tasmanian devils have a reputation for being bad-tempered when threatened by a predator, fighting other males, or getting a place at the table for dinner. They're dubbed devils because of the teeth-baring, lunging, and one of the scariest shrieks you'll ever hear in the middle of the night. They'll also eat pretty much anything they can get a hold of, too. They don't habitually go for people, although they will defend themselves if they're cornered. With such a powerful bite, you wouldn't want to be on the receiving end. Good thing the Tassie devils would much rather escape as well. You're partying in the backyard with your friends. Some people are tossing a frisbee around, but it ends up behind your shed. One of your friends heads over there to fetch it, but she notices something that looks like a giant ball. When trying to get the frisbee, she sees some wasps buzzing around. Little did you know there was a giant wasp nest right in your backyard. Your friend runs back and rushes inside your house. Everyone's confused and watches her sprint out of nowhere. Then you see a swarm of wasps invading the party. You and your friends freak out and rush inside until your living room is completely cramped up. Everyone looks outside in frustration as wasps take over your party. They land on the snacks and grilled food. They're completely covering the entire backyard. You have no choice but to send everyone home and clean up. Wasps aren't usually dangerous unless provoked, but still, it's better to avoid them at all costs. You call pest control to report the hive, and all you can do is sit and wait for them to arrive. Looks like one wasp managed to get inside the house. Everyone panics and knocks over your furniture and stuff. You open the front door to let them out. The best way to detect if a wasp nest is around is by observing their flight patterns. If you see one of them constantly flying back to a certain spot, then chances are a hive is just around the corner. Oh boy. And keep an eye out if you see more than one of these stingers. Some wasps are known to travel solo, but they also live together in colonies. Wasps have an amazing engineering instinct. They build their nests mainly out of wood fibers mixed with their saliva. They turn it into paper-like material and make hexagon-shaped constructions. They find wood pieces from trees, or if they live near humans, then from fences, windowsills, and anything of the sort. The pest control arrives wearing protective gear, looking like they're about to save the world. You sit back and watch them do things. You finally see the nest after they extracted it. And good thing it was just in your backyard. There have been reports of wasp nests inside homes of people, behind closets, inside garages, and even on the top of their windows. They're technically outside, but you wouldn't open a window for a breath of fresh air. Like most pest controllers, your rescuers took out the nest the size of a football and relocated to another, safer area in the wild. Wasps are actually nature's pest controllers. Not all insects dare to mess with them. Wasps just end up preying upon anything that comes their way. In fact, some farmers praise their work and keep them around their crops to protect them. But at least you can go back outside and throw an even better party than before. Better fire up that grill. In April 1963, a farm in a remote area had to deal with the largest known wasp nest. It weighed so much that it actually fell from the tree it was hanging on and split into two. The whole thing was around 12 feet long. That's the size of a Volkswagen Beetle, and 5 feet in diameter, as tall as a fridge. I wouldn't want to have a romantic picnic under that tree. You're going on a nice little hike in the northeastern region of Brazil, when suddenly you realize something doesn't feel right. No, it's not your stomach, so you're fine. But just the landscape. It feels off, like you're standing on something ancient. You see a group of scientists pointing at you to move. At first, you can't really understand what they're saying, but then you realize you're standing on a large termite mill. You know, those insects that love nibbling on wood so much, they build their entire lives around it? And even though termites have a colony mentality like ants and bees, they're actually related to cockroaches. Termites are mainly found in North and South America, but also have traces in Europe and Asia. You can credit that to humans for transporting them all around in ships and crates. Anything wooden they could get their hands on, or rather their jaws. So, after moving from the mill, you realize you notice many mills resembling the one you were standing on as far as the eye can see. You rush over to them to try to make sense of it, and they tell you that you're standing on an enormous complex of 200 million termite mounds. Even though many of these mills are around 10 feet tall, many of them create a beautiful scene. According to scientists, they might be up to 4,000 years old and are visible from a satellite in the sky. These mills cover the size of Great Britain. That's an equivalent of discovering 4,000 Great Pyramids of Giza if you were just a tiny termite. And although abandoned, these mills aren't active nests, but an entire network of interconnecting tunnels. Scientists are still searching for answers about this entire termite supercolony, but so far no more details could be found. They still haven't found a queen chamber, and by the size of it, it doesn't look like it'll happen anytime soon. Termites are actually resourceful creatures, but can do a lot of harm to human-made structures and even crops and plantations. Since termites have migrated with people overseas, many of them aren't accustomed to the natural environment around them. So they end up seeking shelter in anything, including houses and buildings. Termites are responsible for many property destructions and even collapsing of wooden structures. If you have a cabin in the woods with much of your furniture made of wood, you're basically setting an open buffet for these pests. But since these creatures feast on wood, aka cellulose, they can break it down into substances that are spread all around to support other plant growth in the ecosystem. You're walking around in the open savanna enjoying the nice warm sun, when, in an instant, the entire sun is blocked. And these aren't thick dark clouds about to drop some rain on you. You look closely, and after noticing some of its weird movements, you find out it's a huge swarm of locusts, probably the biggest you've ever seen. In 2020, East Africa saw an invasion of locusts that can cover an area 3 times the size of New York City. These waves of swarms hit East Africa, the Arabian Peninsula, and the Middle East, eating away crops that fed entire populations. Scientists claim that this is the biggest locust invasion in the last 50 years. Locusts are considered to be the worst pests. Now, an individual locust doesn't seem too bad, even 2. They look rather harmless and eat a tiny bit of vegetation. But when about 80 million of these bugs get together, well, it's not good news. With those numbers, it's no wonder the whole world stops and pays attention to them when they're on the loose. It took so much effort to control them, but in many cases, the rescue was too late. So, after seeing such a mega swarm heading your way, you seek shelter. But these creatures can cut through anything. You find a small shack to hide in, but as soon as they fly by, it's like living through a hurricane. The coast is clear. You look outside and see everything around toppled over and eaten away. All those crops completely gone. You can finally see the sun again, but the swarm is on the loose. Another insect that got famous and caused all kinds of trouble in 2020 was the Asian hornet. Scientists claim these creatures aren't aggressive towards humans unless provoked, but they can be really violent toward honeybees. The hornets can ruin entire hives in a matter of hours. Tiny honeybees can't do much to protect themselves from full-grown 2-inch monsters. That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the